And you're very welcome back to Mondello Park. Well, now it is time for the big one of the weekend, the ESAT Digiphone Leinster Trophy race itself, which is also round 18 of the EFTA Euro Series. And what a race we have in prospect this afternoon, with the two main protagonists on the front row. That, of course, is Tomas Scheckter and Darren Malkin. And let's not forget the wonderful performance yesterday of Ireland's Michael Keohan. He's well positioned on the grid as well. So they're coming around now to complete the formation lap. Let's go to our commentary team for the big one. It's John Kenny, Declan Quigley and Dan Partel.
The Digiphone Leinster Trophy, the EFTA Euro Series, the EFTA Euro Series 2000 Championship, and it's Tomas Scheckter on pole ahead of Darren Malkin. These two, 1 and 2 in the championship. Takuma Sato, yesterday's winner, alongside Giovanni Anapoli, Carlos Dominguez, Christian McKenna, Michael Keohan, the first of the Irish runner, Jerome Bleeker-Molins, James Murphy, Vivian Daly make up the top 10. And further down the grid, you'll see the name of Paul Edwards from the USA. He's starting some way down the grid. We expect him to make his way through the field. The Leinster Trophy is won in the past by the likes of Eddie Jordan back in 1978, the late Ayrton Senna back in 82, and 88 by Mika Häkkinen, who will be adding their name to this prestigious trophy this afternoon. 18 laps of racing ahead of the EFTA Euro Series cars, and one of the cars is stalled in the grid. That's why the yellow flags have been waved. One of the cars in the back of the grid, we won't worry about too much about that. I think it's James Murphy, but it's a good start up at the front of the grid for Tomas Scheckter and also for Darren Malkin as they head out on the first of this 18 lap race for the Euro Series. It is Scheckter who leads, Malkin alongside, and Takuma Sato's got a great start as well from the second row of the grid, and he is now up into second place as they go round Ambassador Corner for the first time. Dominguez, in the first of the Vergani racing cars, is a holding and watching brief in fourth place, but that was a terrific start, Declan, from Takuma Sato, yesterday's winner from the second row of the grid.
Yeah, he likes Mondello. He certainly went well in the wet yesterday. It was question marks whether he'd go well in the dry today. Third on the grid behind the two title protagonists, but he's right in the middle of that title battle now, and I wonder what's going through Darren Malkin's mind. He desperately wants to get past Sato so he can have a go at Tomas Scheckter.
Well, you might see it in the background there, the other red and white car driven by Michael Keohan. He's giving it certainly a lot of welly, and he's moved up to 6th place overall. You can just see him in the background there. There he goes through shots, and here a whole host of these cars led by Christian McKenna as they go around to the ESAT Digiphone corner for the first time. Car number 99, Michael Keohan from Clonakilty and County Cork. He's been racing in the EFTA Euro Series for all year, and he's hoping to better his 5th place position at the Nürburgring in the last but one round. Yesterday he was in 2nd place in the restarted race. Unfortunately his drive shaft broke and he didn't actually finish the race, so Michael Keohan hoping for a better result this afternoon. But up at the top of the leaderboard, Tomas Scheckter leads the championship, and also from his point of view leads this race ahead of Darren Malkin, who's now got past Sato. Sato relegated to 3rd place, and up to 4th place is the Italian Giovanni Anapoli. Is up to 3rd place, and Malkin has taken 2nd place ahead of Takuma Sato, and now trying to chase down the leader Tomas Scheckter.
Malkin needed that. Now he can concentrate on going for Scheckter, but Scheckter has a crucial gap. It's so difficult to pass in these cars, wings and slicks. Once you get behind the car, we've heard it so many times before, understeer, that they turn the steering wheel and it doesn't want, the car wants to slide straight on. So I don't know what's it's difficult for Darren, but he was able to get past Sato. He'll be chasing Tomas.
Yes, Tomas Scheckter got the best starts, and he leads the championship currently by some 14 points, with 63 points remaining in the championship to be won. There's still all to play for, so we are waiting for the battle to commence between these two. Scheckter got the best start, as I say, lost 2nd place to Darren Malkin, to Takuma Sato, and he is now chasing hard to get near Tomas Scheckter. They've completed they're on their 2nd lap, 18 laps to go, so there is still a long way to go in this race. The 18th round of the EFTA Euro Series, and here comes the leaders towards us now, and they go into the complex one more time. Whole host of these EFTA 2000s in past through it around this sweeping left-hander, which is Honda curve, and then back onto a little short straight at the back of the paddock onto the old part of the circuit, and then they'll climb the hill towards Motorfit Corner and complete another lap. Scheckter is lapping in the 1:45. The lap record around here for these cars is around a 1:39 from Andrew Cicaldi, the Scottish driver, about 2 years ago, so they may go very close today, because they certainly went very close in practice this morning. Dan Partel, the coordinator of the series. Well, we got the race we wanted between the top two in the championship.
Yeah, this is an interesting test here, because Malcolm has to push. He really has to try and win this race today. In most circumstances, a 2nd place, you'd be happy with it. But we only have 2 races left after this. That's at Zandvoort in Holland on the weekend of October 2nd and 3rd. And in that situation, Scheckter, that's his test circuit. He knows it. It's a brand new Grand Prix circuit built by the Dutch on the Seaside Resort, and Malcolm doesn't know that circuit. They have 4 hours of testing, but certainly Scheckter's been using it all season long. Malcolm must push to win this race today.
Well, he certainly is pushing it, because he's put in the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1 minute 40.75 seconds on that last lap, and he's closed the gap between himself and the leader Tomas Scheckter to 0.65 of a second. Scheckter is lapping the 141.17, but it is early days. They've got to get a lot of heat into these tyres. Thankfully today is very, very dry. The rain of yesterday has abated, and we've got a terrific race on here, because Declan, he's getting very, very close as they go into tyres in 1 and 2.
It's looking like 2 3-way battles at the front, with Malkin, if anything, drawing slightly away from Sato and really getting in under the back wing of Tomas Scheckter. See, Michael Keohan is crawling all over the 2 Vergani cars of Napoli and Dominguez as well. He's really eager and really fired up for this weekend, the man from Clonakilty, and he desperately wants to make amends for that difficult race yesterday where he was second and then retired. Just to mention the man who stalled in the start line, that was Gavin Smith from Dublin. The Cliff Dempsey Racing man had a good run yesterday to 5th, but no luck this afternoon.
Yes, and he also has raced in various Euro Series races this year, selected rounds. I know he's run at Silverstone this year, and a good learning curve for Gavin Smith, but unfortunately, racing being racing, unfortunately, from his point of view, he just never got off the start line, and that's the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you're a hero, sometimes the car just doesn't even start. But it's getting very close at the front now. He's closed that gap ever so slightly from 0.65 of a second to 0.43 of a second, and he's still lapping consistently in the 140s compared to the 141s for Tomas Scheckter, and you can see how close they've got there, coming out of Ambassador, climbing the hill and down again into the S's. This is a very, very tight left-hander before they hit a little straight and down towards Parabolica. The front 2 seem to be pulling away, Declan.
That's right, Sato is, the elastic band has snapped somewhat, and Sato seems to be dropping back into the clutches of Giovanni Napoli, who also has his teammate Carlos Dominguez right behind him. That's an interesting battle, but up front, that's the real one. Darren Malkin, he's right with Tomas Scheckter. What's he going to do now? I mean, he really needs to try and make amends. He needs to get ahead of Scheckter, not only for the points, but for the psychological impetus that would give him going to the final round at Zandvoort.
These are our leaders coming through our shot now. Second place man Darren Malkin. In 3rd, you will see just behind Takumo Sato. He won the race yesterday. It was a 2-part race. The first was in the dry and then the second one in the wet. There was a big crash for James Murphy yesterday. The race had to be stopped. Thankfully he was okay. Was hospitalised for a little time yesterday, but back out racing today. In fact, qualified the car 10th and is now currently running in 11th place. In fact, the top Irish driver, as we mentioned, is Michael Keohan. Just behind him, Vivian Daly, who's won the Irish Championship this year, is currently running 9th. Philip Keogh is 10th. James Murphy in 11th place. And Paul Edwards, we said, started at the back of the field. There was a problem with Paul Edwards' car this morning, Dan. He actually raced in his race car and had a problem and switched to another car, and because of that the scrutineers said, you can't do that, and they put him at the back of the grid.
That's right. A car in this formula, you have to register the engine and the tires, but the chassis you can change. However, you cannot put a car in a racetrack that's not been scrutineered, and the car he used, the T car, wasn't scrutineered, and therefore any time he did was taken away from him and he was placed at the back of the grid. But I see he's working himself up. He's up to 12th now, but it's I don't care who you are, it's a tough place to pass, and these Irish drivers are going to defend their line, and that's the way it should be.
And we just had a shot there in the background. You see the 2 green Vergani racing cars of Giovanni Napoli. Car number 4 leading his teammate Carlos Dominguez, and just directly behind them is the red and white car of Michael Keohan from Clonakilty in County Cork. He's actually lapping just that little bit faster than those 2 cars, Napoli and Dominguez. And Napoli is 141.85 compared to Dominguez 141.75, and just that little bit faster, and 141.71 is Michael Keohan. And if he can just get a little bit closer, Declan, he could hound these 2 and get up possibly a couple of places.
This is definitely a chance for Michael Keohan. And Napoli is, I think he's looking more in his mirrors than he is in front of him. He looked like he had a chance of staying with Sato, then he got it really wide at that spot last lap. He was pretty wide there as well, and he's making his car as wide as he can for his teammate, but that's playing into the hands of Michael Keohan.
Well, here is Michael Keohan trying hard to better his result this year. Best result this year is 2 fifth-place finishes. The last one, as I said, was at the Nürburgring the round before last. And this is the battle for 1, 2 and 3. And Sato seems to be closing the gap ever so slightly as well. 1.63 seconds he is currently behind the front two, Malkin and also Tomas Scheckter. And Keohan goes down the inside and takes that 5th place away from Giovanni Anapoli. Anapoli was actually running in 4th place, but he's lost it now to Michael Keohan, who's now going to chase down car number 5, Carlos Dominguez, whose front nose cone is actually at a crazy angle, so he's going to have a problem with his downforce. So Michael Keohan is starting to cut his way through the field. Can he get past Carlos Dominguez there? Maybe there was a coming together. It didn't seem there was a coming together between himself and Keohan. Maybe the two teammates touched, the two Vergani Racing drivers, but all over his gearbox is Michael Keohan as they go around the S's and down towards Parabolica.
This is just what Keohan needed. We saw that Anapoli was really holding things up there. Dominguez had to do something about it. He got on up with the inside, but he couldn't get it quite stopped, and he touched with his teammate. This has got to be good for Michael Keohan, because Dominguez's car won't be handling quite as well. He'll be turning in. The car won't want to actually turn into the corner. It'll be understeering off, front wheel skid, and Keohan should be able to run with him. But running with him is one thing. Can he get past?
Well, I'm sure he's going to be trying his damnedest to get past that little right-hander, the double right-hander you see there. We just come out of the Tarzan 1, Tarzan 2 ESA Digiphone corner. Is one of the best places on the circuit to overtake, because you go so slow into that corner, you can just dive down the inside if you're the last of the late breakers. But it's a very, very dangerous manoeuvre. If you get alongside, you might be okay, but sometimes you can just leave it braking a little bit too late and slam into the car in front of you. But there is a problem, of course, for Dominguez with that front nose cone of his car sticking up in the air as it is. They come around Motorfit corner. You can see this overtake manoeuvre once again.
By then, Dominguez's car is already in trouble, and Keohan got a run out of Motorfit corner. He was alongside. It was relatively straightforward. Didn't look quite so straightforward in the braking areas. We saw smoke everywhere.
So Michael Keohan currently running in 5th place, and Takumo Sato set the best lap of the race so far, a 1 minute 40.65, as he continues to try and push in on the front two. Don't forget, it is Tomas Scheckter and Darren Malkin who are ahead, but this is the battle we're concentrating on. Michael Keohan and Carlos Dominguez. Michael Keohan is all over Dominguez. Dominguez certainly will know that he's there. Michael Keohan, bitter disappointment for him yesterday. He's trying to go around the outside, and it's not the place to overtake there, because he'll just try and slingshot around to the left hand side, but Dominguez is holding his racing line as they go down this straight towards Parabolica. This is a very fast part of the circuit. He just dab the brakes, maybe change a gear down. Oh, just lets it slide very wide is Carlos Dominguez, and Keohan is driving very well out there, Dan.
Yeah, Keohan is very impressive out there. He's under a lot of pressure. This is his home circuit, and he certainly wants to prove himself, but he did a great job yesterday, and this is great racing. He did a strong move on Anapoli, and he's really pressing Dominguez very hard. By the way, Dominguez, is no slouch. He's had 3 wins this year. He was leading the season, the championship into mid-season.
Well, that's unfortunate for Vivian Daly in the 2FM Abracababra car. He won the Irish Championship this year, his first time winning the championship. He's been never present in the Irish Championship since 1991, but unfortunately his race is over. He's backed into the bank. He had a whole host of people down this weekend to have a look and see how he was going to race. Unfortunately, he didn't get very far, only completed 6 laps. We're back now with the race leader. This is Tomas Scheckter coming over the start-finish line, and the lap times are coming down all the time. He's lapping in a 1 minute 40s now consistently. Obviously the heat getting into the tyres here. It's a little bit overcast, but 140.71 is a pretty consistent time to be doing all the way for the last couple of laps. 140.71, 140.72, 144.75 for the last couple of laps. So it's very consistent for Scheckter, Malkin and Sato up front, all lapping in the 140s.
Yeah, but the battle behind is between Keohan and Dominguez, and I think what's interesting is that Dominguez is all over his mirrors. He's worrying about Keohan, but he's still those two are still able to draw away just slightly from Giovanni Anapoli, who was really holding them up. So you've got to wonder, what would these guys have been doing if they hadn't been held up in the first few laps?
7 laps down, 18 lap race, so there's still a lot of racing to be done. This is the battle for 4th place. Dominguez still holding off Michael Keohan. Keohan is trying to go down the inside, and will he do it a parabolic? Oh, that was very, very close. That is one place you can do it. You can just a little dab on the brakes, or maybe just leave it a little late, because the road certainly opens up to the left hand side, and this is the fastest part of the circuit, down towards the ESAT Digiphone corner. He's not close enough there. Dominguez able to hold that racing line, just up over the curves, let the car drift to the left hand side, and then power down as he got the hit hill towards Druids, and into the complex they go. It is Tomas Scheckter up ahead, but this is the battle further down the field between the two Vergani racing team, and the meat in the sandwich is Cork driver Michael Keohan. And because this battle is going on, of course, Christian McKenna in car number 3, 7th place driver, is getting ever closer down.
It's very critical at this stage in the race. These cars tend to drift a lot, and that causes a lot of tire heat buildup in the tires, and as those tires get hot, that rubber starts to roll across the surface. These Bridgestone tires are excellent and they last the whole race long, but as that surface over the tire gets hot and that rubber starts to roll, they start to drift. So if they want to make a late attack, they're going to have to take it easy somewhere in the midfield, and certainly Keohan has been pushing very hard. I'm sure his tires are going to be a little bit going off.
Well, Vivian Daly is out of the race, one of the Irish drivers, and another one unfortunately out of the race as well is Philip Keohan, who's running 15th place at one stage. He's just pulled into the pits in front of us here. His race is run. Had problems all weekend, he said, with the airflow filter in the car, but unfortunately from his point of view, his race is run. Philip Keohan second in the Irish Championship this year, but we're concentrating on the battle for the 18th round of the EFTA Euro Series for the prestigious Leinster Trophy. A whole host of luminaries have won this trophy in the past as Dominguez puts the wheel out on the grass. Got to be very, very careful there, because they're coming through from the S's and down towards Parabolica at a rate of knots, and the road opens up to the left hand side, and once again they come down towards the ESAT Digiphone corner. Can Keohan get a little bit closer to Dominguez to try and take the inside line? No, Dominguez does the right thing, just closes the door and turns right and up the hill once again. But Dominguez is running crafty old race ahead of Michael Keohan, but he's not pulling away.
Well, Dominguez, I don't know about crafty, he's all over the place, he's flying. It's certainly, he's doing a great job of defending, it must be said. Michael Keohan at this stage, he had a speculative move a lap ago at Parabolica. It was not really an established overtaking place, but he had a stab anyway. Sometimes you've got to try it where it's least expected. Didn't quite come off, door slammed shut. It's taken him a lap to get back on terms, but now he's got to do some thinking.
This is our race leader while the battles go on for the minor places below. It is Tomas Scheckter who's leading Darren Malkin now by over a second and a half. It is Takuma Sato currently in third place, 2.53 seconds adrift, and this is the battle for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th place. Christian McKenna has closed the gap between himself and Anapoli, Keohan and Dominguez as well, so there's a really good battle for the minor places, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th place, while Scheckter pulls away up front. And of course in the championship he leads by 14 points, still quite a lot of points to play for. 63 points, you get 20 points for a race win, and there's also the possibility of an extra point for fastest lap, and the fastest lap so far of the race has gone to Takuma Sato, who won yesterday's race, round 17 of the championship. He's lapped in 140.65 seconds, still not quite close enough to get near Andrew Kirkcaldy's lap record of 139.77, but that's about a second adrift. But Sato at this moment has got himself an extra point for posting the fastest lap of the race. But Scheckter still leads ahead of Malkin, and this is the battle for 4th place between Dominguez and Keohan.
Yeah, we see that Christian McKenna from Chile has come up on Giovanni Anapoli. That's going to develop into quite a battle, and it's practically a four-way dice for 4th place there. It's certainly a good battle. And look at James Murphy is making moves as well. The man who struggled, who had a fantastic run yesterday. The man from Wexford, spectacular accident on the main straight, but undaunted, James has come back again today. He's up to 8th place. Paul Edwards is making inroads as well. He's 9th, and they're all closing up.
Yeah, well, James Murphy is quite a considerable distance away from Christian McKenna, but this is our race leader. It is Tomas Scheckter. Last time was 1.65 seconds between himself and Malkin. That gap has opened up a little bit more, 1.8 seconds between himself and Malkin. Sato further, nearly 4 seconds adrift. Dominguez currently in 4th place, Michael Keohan in 5th, Anapoli in 6th, McKenna in 7th, James Murphy currently in 8th place. That's a wonderful return for him. He had a bad crash here yesterday, had a tangle with Mark Kershaw, and Mark Kershaw is actually racing here today because he hurt 2 fingers in his hand, so unfortunately his race was run yesterday when that crash came. But Murphy backed the car, Declan, pretty badly into the wall on the main straights and had to be hospitalised, but from his point of view, thankfully everything was okay, and he's out racing today and racing well up to currently 8th place. And Edwards, unfortunately, from Murphy's point of view, has now taken 8th place. He started at the back of the grid, he's now up to 8th.
Yeah, we would have expected Paul Edwards to be making good progress, and that's happening. But I think it's looking at Thomas Scheckter here. He's 19 years old on Tuesday, and he's a fine racing driver already. Just at the spot we're looking at there, I was watching on a couple of days ago in testing, and I was really impressed with Thomas Scheckter. He was really late on the brakes and really early on the power. He was able to get it turned in and planted earlier than anyone else and take it right out to the curb, live all over the curbs on the exit in a way that other guys just couldn't do. Some of them look good on the exit, but he was good entry, middle and exit.
Yes, Thomas Scheckter will extend his lead in the championship if he can win here this afternoon. 2 rounds to go at Zandvoort, the last 2 rounds of the championship. And as we mentioned in the past, Thomas Scheckter is of course the son of Jody Scheckter, the former Formula 1 world champion, won for Ferrari back in 1979. Toby Scheckter, his brother, raced in this championship last year and is now racing in the British Formula 3 championship this year. 11 laps gone, 18 laps in this Formula EFTA 2000 series, the 18th round of the championship here for the Leinster Trophy at Mondello Park, and still Thomas Scheckter leads ahead of Darren Malkin, opening up that gap from 1.8 to 1.96 seconds. Sato currently in 3rd place, and Dominguez, Keohan, Napoli and McKenna still contesting 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th place. There goes Dominguez, the front of his car, front nose cone. You can see the left hand side of that car damaged and coming together, we think, with his teammate Napoli, but he's doing all he can to make sure that Michael Keohan stays behind him and in 5th place, and he goes wide out onto the grass of the S's, and Michael Keohan's chance has finally arrived. Thank you very much, says Michael Keohan, dives down the inside and takes 4th place away from Carlos Dominguez.
Actually, Michael's chasing him and putting a lot of pressure on. As I said earlier, those tires start to go off. They get hot. And here his wing was broken, his downforce is affected. Michael pressured him all the way, and fortunately, there you saw the accident come, or they slipped off the track. That was good racing on Michael's part, putting the pressure on, and it was an inevitable. Michael's got a shot at getting on the victory podium, needs a little bit of help up front, but that's as great now as his best race result of the year, and what a better place to do it.
Yep, at his home circuit. Michael Keohan racing in the EFTA Euro Series all year. Raced in the Formula Ford 1600s with the likes of the late Neil Shannon, one of his best friends. Sadly missed her, of course, this afternoon, the Leinster Trophy. His father Liam presented the trophy to the Formula Ford Z-Tex, and this is our race leader, Thomas Scheckter, ahead of Darren Malkin and Takuma Sato. Michael Keohan, of course, now up to 4th place, and the gap between him and the leader is 13.8 seconds, and between him and Sato it's some 9 seconds, so he's got to push hard, Declan, over the last 6 laps or so to get anywhere near to Sato. It's going to be a difficult thing to do. He's obviously hoping that the front 3 will make some kind of mistake.
At the moment the podium looks to be okay, but we saw yesterday that mechanical problems can happen later in the race. As Dan says, the tyres go off, the drivers become tired. I think for Dominguez there, it was a case of an ill-handling car finally bit him. He could go with it for a while, but eventually the pressure that Mick Keohan was putting on him told. He'll be chasing the podium. He had one yesterday. He would really love one in Leinster Trophy, so let's hope for that.
Yeah, we can only hope for Michael Keohan to get towards Takuma Sato and take a place on the rostrum, which would be brilliant for him. The other Irish drivers, let's mention them. James Murphy, we said, was in 8th place at one stage, but has been taken over by Paul Edwards. And there's a problem with one of the cars, I believe, that is Noel Roddy at the back of the field. Noel Roddy just lets the car slip, and he will just reverse it onto the rumble strips, and away he'll go. No problem there for Noel Roddy, who started at the back of the grid and was up to 11th place overall at one stage. This is Takuma Sato, our 3rd place man. We're waiting now for Michael Keohan to come into view, and there's our race leader coming down to complete lap 13 of 18, Thomas Scheckter. Last time around, 1.96 seconds between himself and Darren Malkin. We check the time as they come over the start finish line. It's growing ever more, 2.15 seconds. It seems to be settling down. Scheckter, Malkin and Sato, it seems to be this is the way it's going to be, Declan, right to the checkered flag unless something happens. It's
a great scrap. Like I say, it's not wheel-to-wheel action, but the pressure that those guys are under out there, Thomas Scheckter can't let his pace up for 1 second or Darren Malkin will be right on him.
Sato and Michael Keohan trying to chase him down. Sato in third, Keohan in fourth place. The gap last time was around 9 seconds. It's grown just a little bit to around 10, or about 9.5 seconds between himself and Sato. So Sato will have to fall off for Malkin or Scheckter for Keohan to get himself a place in the top three. But he did have a really good battle between himself and Dominguez in Napoli. Dominguez has recovered somewhat to retain that 5th place ahead of his teammate in Napoli. Christy McKenna currently lying in 7th place. I was saying about some of the Irish drivers before we were rudely interrupted by Noel Roddy slipping off there. It is Paul Edwards, the American driver, ahead of James Murphy, the Irish driver, in 9th place. And then looking down the field, Leslie Wright, we haven't mentioned, is currently in 12th. Noel Roddy is currently in 13th place, and there's only 13 cars left in this race. 17 started.
We're looking, we've had some great shots there of Michael Keohan, and you can tell he comes from rallying stock. His father is a rally man, and there's a lot of rally people down in Clonakilty and County Cork, because he really lives on his reflexes. He loves to have the back stepping out, he loves to get the power on as early as he can, and he's certainly a spectacular driver. You've got to remember, he's in his first year of full-time professional racing. I think he's a prospect.
Well, this is certainly a prospect. Tomas Scheckter come down to complete 14 laps, 4 to go in this EFTA Euro Series. It's the 18th round, 2 to go. Zandvoort 19 and 20, and he's getting very close to the championship. I was talking to him and his father earlier on today, and I was posing the question, what is Tomas Scheckter going to do next year? Well, he hopes to follow his brother into the British Formula 3 Championship this year. Toby hasn't done so well, Jody was saying, but Thomas, I think, could be a real find. 18 years of age, currently leading the championship by 14 points from second place Darren Malkin. Finished in third place in yesterday's race to consolidate his lead at the top of the championship by those 14 points. Malkin finished actually in 4th place, but got a point for a fastest lap to extend the lead just by a single point from 13 to 14 points down. Actually,
Thomas has been dominating the second half of the season. He is a rookie, but he won back-to-back wins at Silverstone. He won again in the Nürburgring, and he's certainly on his way to a victory here today. He's on a record-breaking pace. He could end up with the most race wins ever in the history of the Euro Series, which I believe is 7. And frankly speaking, he's got home field advantage when he goes to Zandvoort. This boy's going to be a tough one to beat for this championship. But there's another interesting battle out there, and that was certainly affected by Michael Keohan, because Dominguez and Edwards have been having a battle for 3rd in the championship. Edwards pulled ahead for the first time ahead of Domingos, but now Domingos is outscoring Edwards, but that's going to be a battle that'll have to be settled at Zandvoort in 2 weeks' time as well.
At the end of this, there will be 3 laps to go. So, Dan, you're the coordinator of this championship. It looks like there will not be one of these next year. What's the plans for next year for the EFTA 2000s?
Well, that's a great question. It's a $64,000 question. I wish I could give you the right answer, but you know, motor racing, it takes money to run the cars, and it takes money to organize them, and for the moment we haven't got that sorted out.
That's car number 69, Lance Robson, who's racing in 11th place at one stage, and that'll move Leslie Wright up to 11th place. But you were saying, Dan, the future of the series, I know you've got a couple of rounds to go in Zandvoort, and you also got to run a Nations Cup out there, so 1 or 2 of the Irish drivers from here may get a chance to run in that Nations Cup.
Yes, they are talking Philip Coho and James Murphy, and for sure you have Michael Keohan, and I'm not sure who he's going to be partnered with, but I expect to see 2 Irish teams over there in Zandvoort, and I think their chances are extremely good to get in the medals.
Yeah, it's been a very successful series. You've had the likes of Heinz Harald Frentzen and Mika Hakkinen come through, so some of the drivers that have come through this class have moved on to the higher echelons of sport into Formula 1, so it's been a great learning curve for a lot of these drivers, and the likes of Michael Keohan, who's out there battling for 4th place. I mean, it is a great learning curve for him, and the likes of our leader Tomas Scheckter.
Well, this has been a great series, and of course it's graduated a lot of talent, and of course Hakkinen leads the World Championship, and with Coulthard and Pedro Lamy in the past, and of course the numbers so many. 36 have reached Formula 1 who've raced in this series over the years, and of course none was greater than Ayrton Senna, who won the Leinster Trophy here in 1982.
And you've also, of course, been dovetailing with Formula 1 races as well, so it's also been a place where teams can watch drivers from this class on their own back door, basically, when they're racing in places like the Nürburgring, etc. They can see the likes of Tomas Scheckter and Darren Malkin. It didn't happen this year, but I know it certainly happened last year when they were racing at the Nürburgring, a place like that. So it's a shop window, of course, for their talents.
Well, Paul Edwards was in Laguna Seca last weekend for the kart race, and everybody in the paddock knew he won over at the Nürburgring. So even the news has traveled over to the United States, and well, it's been great.
So our leader Tomas Scheckter on his merry way to victory, it would seem, leading by 2.33 seconds. That's the driver in fourth place, Michael Keohan, some 15 seconds adrift. So they're on their penultimate lap of 18 around Star and down towards Ambassador. So this, if it stays like this, will be his best result of the year for Michael Keohan, and what a place to do it at your home circuit. Around Ambassador Corner he goes, our leader further up the field. This is Tomas Scheckter going around Parabolica, the little 100 mark you see in the road. He just take a little dab of the brakes there and power the car down and drift the car out to the left hand side as he heads down towards ESAT Digiphone Corner. Takuma Sato was our winner yesterday, drove extremely well in the dry, and then when the race was stopped and restarted, drove even better in the wet, and at this current stage has posted the fastest lap of the race, car number 7, Takuma Sato for Diamond Racing, a time of 1:40.65. If it stays that way, he will pick up an extra point for the fastest lap of the race. But no problems up front for Tomas Scheckter and Darren Malkin and Sato. It's settled down to 1-2-3.
Yeah, the gap closed slightly there, John, 2.33 seconds now, but to be honest, I think Tomas Scheckter's in good shape, and he has a very secure lead. I don't think Darren Malkin, there's a whole lot he can do at this stage. And those in the know of the two Scheckter brothers, they say that this is the real star. Tomas Scheckter is a real star in the making, and I think we've seen some amazingly famous names on that Leinster trophy. We're going to see another famous name on it, and he's going to make it famous in his own right over the next few years.
Well, he's certainly a very, very confident young man. I've talked to him a couple of times over this weekend, and he's very assured of his own talents. So he will open up something like a 19-point lead in the championship. In fact, a 19-point lead is exactly what he'll do if it stays this way. He will be on 259 points as regards Malkin's 240 on this very last lap. And here is the Irish hero from Clonakilty and County Cork, driving this EFTA Euro Series car for Fortec Racing. It's Michael Keohan. Back to our leader though, around the S's for the last time and down this straight towards Parabolica, lets the car drift out to the right hand side up over the strips. It is Tomas Scheckter. There's our second place driver. He's got a comfortable position there. Darren Malkin ahead of Takuma Sato, and you can see the distance between Sato and Keohan, which is some 9 seconds, and on the road, well, he wasn't coming around the S's into our side at that stage. Down into ESAT Digiphone Corner for the last time. Two right-handers before he climbs the hill. It's an impressive drive, Declan, and well worthy of the victory here this afternoon, provided he can get around these last couple of corners.
To be honest, the championship looks very much his for the losing at this stage with 2 rounds to go. He's a fine driver and very cocky, very confident young man, a feisty competitor. We know he got a 10-second stop-go penalty at the previous race meeting for some untoward tactics. That shows he certainly is committed.
Yeah, and he got that for pulling in front of Paul Edwards, but for the last time they come around Motofit Corner. Second place driver there, Darren Malkin, can do absolutely nothing about this victory for Tomas Scheckter, who wins the ESAT Digiphone Leinster Trophy, the EFTA Euro Series 2000 Series. Waiting for him, puts his hand in the air, delighted for him. He's adding his name to such names as Eddie Jordan is one in the past, Mika Hakkinen is one in the past, and also Ayrton Senna back in 1982. And fourth place for Michael Keohan, his best result of the year. That's our second place man, that is Darren Malkin. So in the championship, with 2 rounds remaining at Zandvoort, it is Scheckter who leads ahead of Malkin by some 19 points, 259 to 240. Takuma Sato takes third today. So Scheckter wins ahead of Malkin and Takuma Sato in third place overall. So from Mondello Park, let's go to a break.